I received a comment on the AJ Dubois video I uploaded earlier on today, which really puzzled me. And what puzzled me even more was the fact that there's a load of likes on the comment. So the comment read, "How has Dubois got superior stamina? He has never gone 12 rounds in his career, so it's unproven." Well, to clarify, when I said Dubois got superior stamina, I meant superior stamina to AJ. And if you're doubting he has superior stamina to AJ, then I really don't know what you've been watching, because it's obvious. But I guess some people aren't very perceptive, so if you want data to back up what I'm saying, I'll give you some data. Daniel Dubois threw 517 punches over 10 rounds against Jarrell Miller. 517 punches. He landed 208, and he still had enough energy in the 10th round to force a stoppage in the dying seconds. 517 punches. Now, name me any fight in Anthony Joshua's entire career where he's thrown anywhere near that many punches. That's obviously a rhetorical question, because no such fight exists. And remember, AJ's been 10 rounds or more 7 times in his career. On 5 of those occasions, he went the full 12. So on 5 occasions, he's had 2 rounds extra, 2 rounds beyond the number of rounds that Dubois fought against Miller to equal Dubois' punch total, but he never has. Against Vladimir Klitschko, he threw 355 punches, and that fight went 11 rounds. That's the best part of 200 punches less than Dubois threw against Jarrell Miller over 10 rounds. And unlike Daniel Dubois, AJ was totally knackered in the final round of that fight, the 11th. Totally knackered. He had to force the punches out of himself to get rid of Klitschko. Dubois was way more sprightly than AJ, despite the fact he'd thrown way more punches than AJ did against Klitschko. When AJ throws a big combination but fails to get his opponent out of there, let's say a 5, 6, 7 punch combination, he not only has to take the rest of that round off to recover, he has to take several of the following rounds off to recover. That's been shown in multiple fights. Happened against Dillian Whyte. He was absolutely knackered by the end of the 2nd round against Dillian Whyte. He was totally knackered by the end of the 5th round against Klitschko. When have you ever seen Daniel Dubois that tired so early on in a fight? Again, rhetorical question. He's never been that tired so early on in a fight. I mean, AJ could barely hold his hands up in that 5th round against Klitschko. And the first 4 rounds of that fight were low volume. He wasn't even throwing a lot of punches. I recognized that Dubois had really good stamina early on in his career when he fought Kevin Johnson. I was very impressed by the number of punches he threw in that fight and the way he was bouncing around the ring. I was like, wow, I said in my post-fight video at the time, this kid's stamina is really impressive. His work rate is really impressive. If you've watched these 2 guys fight, it should be glaringly obvious to you before you even look at CompuBox numbers that Dubois got much better stamina than Anthony Joshua. Yes, he's been stopped a couple times, not because he gassed out, but because he lost heart. He quit twice. His eye was hurt against Joe Joyce, and he was overwhelmed by Alexander Usyk. But that had nothing to do with his gas tank. It had something to do with his mind or his heart. Dubois has actually got one of the better gas tanks in the heavyweight division. And this whole going 12 rounds thing, Anthony Joshua has been 12 rounds a number of times. That doesn't mean he's got good stamina, because he's going 12 rounds with a low punch output. He's pacing himself very slowly. And of course, that's the smart thing to do if you don't have a great gas tank. I'm not dissing AJ for his low punch output in that regard. Although in the Usyk fights, he really needed to gamble to get the victory. But generally speaking, yeah, AJ's going to have a relatively low punch output because it's unsafe for him to have a Daniel Dubois level punch output. And this is why at the time when AJ signed to fight Jarrell Miller, I was one of the few people giving Miller a good chance in the fight. I said, if he can take AJ's power, AJ's in serious trouble, because he does not have the stamina to be able to keep up with this guy. Andy Ruiz's stamina had previously never been in question. But look at how gassed he was after just a couple rounds against Jarrell Miller. Yeah, I know he broke his hand, but he was also knackered from the pressure and the work rate. And I fully appreciate that Miller wasn't in the kind of shape against Dubois that he was against Ruiz, but still, look at the number of punches Dubois actually threw. 517 punches over 10 rounds. He's had more fights than Daniel Dubois. Substantially more, but he's never had one fight where he's come close to equaling Dubois' punch output against Jarrell Miller. To me, it should be obvious to anyone that's watched both of these fighters that Dubois got the better stamina, and there you go, some data to back it up. And before I go, make sure you check out my Joshua Dubois film study on my Patreon page. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. I analyze actual video footage of several of their fights and do a technical breakdown of their respective strengths and weaknesses and discuss tactics. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below.